Hello everyone, we're going to finish up that R6 and R7 notes. I told you I had the word problem at the end that I said to skip. I got a little ahead of myself, over my skis, whatever you want to say, and this problem got away from me, so we're going to do this little video here to make it make sense. I do want you to notice two things. First off, I have the notation, I have the equation correct now. The initial velocity is 8 times the square root of 5. So that is 8 times the square root of 5 times t. The reason I brought the parenthesis in here is just to draw attention to the fact that t is not hidden under the root. Okay, that if you look at it in your notes, you probably see the t hiding under the root. If the t were under the root, nothing good would happen. So it is not there. The other thing you may notice is I made a small change in notation. Instead of just s over here, you see s of t. And so your notes may say s is equal to, and then I just have everything that's on the left-hand side. Let me talk about that for just a second, because this is what you see in your notes. I've got s of t. This is called function notation, and it's just saying that s is a variable. S in this case is the height, okay? Because we all know height begins with s. That's absolutely wrong. It does not. It's s is actually position, which also doesn't start with s, but you get the idea. It's a physics problem, so we actually have some underlying information here. So this is telling me the position off the ground. So s is the height off the ground. That Kadour reaches after t seconds. Now, the notation or the s, you notice I'm saying s of t. The reason it's s of t is because I literally have s, the height, in terms of t. Think about what I just said. S in terms of t. Now that just sounds like something someone says in math class and we all ignore, but look at what I've got. S, so here's s, in terms. Remember, terms are separated by pluses and minuses, and terms of t means I have terms, things that are separated by pluses and minuses, with t's in them. Is that what I have on the right-hand side? Absolutely. Negative 16t squared is a term, it has a t in it. 8 times the square root of 5t is a term. So I have s in terms of t, right? All those words, when we say them, they have a meaning. S in terms of t, or s of t. So, but let's get rid of all of this extra fluff, and let's tackle this problem. The first thing you're going to notice is if you pay attention, if you watch the video that we did in class, first thing was that I had the t under the root for some reason. And the second thing was I'm looking for, I should probably read the question. We're 3 minutes into the video. At the time of printing, the highest vertical leap by a human is 60 inches, held by Kadour Ziana. For this record-setting jump, Kadour left the ground with an initial velocity of 8 times the square root of 5 feet per second. How long after leaving the ground would it take Kadour to reach his maximum height? So a couple things are going on here. The first one that I did not draw attention to is the units of the problem. So the initial velocity here is in feet per second. Okay? You don't know this yet, but we have this negative 16t squared. This negative 16 is the acceleration due to gravity in feet per second. So feet per second are appearing in here multiple times. This means, and you'd only know this because I'm telling you this, that when I get done, S is two-letter word, Larry. Two-letter word, and you misspelled it. S is in feet. Okay? Maximum height that Kadour reaches is 60 inches, so we do have to do a quick little conversion here. 60 inches. I want inches to go away. I want feet to end up. Do you have to do this? No, you don't. But it's always helpful to see the math when it's working. This is dimensional analysis. We're just getting rid of the inches. And 60 times 1 is 60 over 12. These are feet. 60 divided by 12 is 5 feet. So instead of looking for when S is 60, which is what I did in class, we're actually looking for what is T when my function S of T equals 5. All right, so S of T, that's the entire left-hand side of the equation. So what have I done? I have 5. I plug it in for S of T, and then I solve for T. So let's do that. So 5 is equal to negative 16t squared plus 8 times the square root of 5t. This is a quadratic, so what am I going to do? I'm going to get everything on one side. It doesn't look like a quadratic because of that middle, because of the b, because that 8 times the square root of 5, but it is. So everything to one side, right? I got a quadratic, I got all 3 terms, which is why I'm moving everything to one side. Left-hand side has 0 on it, right-hand side. Negative 16t squared plus 8 times the square root of 5t minus 5. Now, let's take stock of what we have because, again, it's just an odd-looking problem. My coefficients are negative 16 for A. B is 8 times the square root of 5. That is just a number. And then C is negative 5. So what do I do with all this? I plug this into the quadratic equation. The quadratic equation says that T is equal to the opposite of B, which is negative 8 times the square root of 5, plus or minus the square root of B squared, negative 8 times the square root of 5, all squared, minus 4 times A times C. Close that. All divided by 2 times A. Now, what's going to happen here? Negative 8 times the square root of 5 is just negative 8 times the square root of 5. There's nothing to do there. Plus or minus the square root. Now, negative 8 times the square root of 5 squared means negative 8 times negative 8 times the square root of 5 times the square root of 5. Negative 8 times negative 8 is positive 64. The square root of 5 times the square root of 5 is 5. So this is 64 times 5 minus 4 times negative 5 is negative 20. Negative 20 times negative 16 is positive 320. And then the denominator is going to end up with a negative 32. I'm going to scoot to the next, just come down to the next. I'm looking at negative 8 times the square root of 5 plus or minus the square root. 64 times 5 is 320. And something amazing has happened. Okay, whenever we dealt with quadratics up to this point, we've always had that plus minus. That plus minus gives us 2 answers, correct? Well, in this case, there's nothing over there. 320 minus 320 is 0. Square root of 0 is 0. So all I have is negative 8 times the square root of 5 over negative 32 plus or minus 0. Add 0, subtract 0, nothing changes. So instead of having 2 answers, I only have 1. Negative divided by negative is a positive. Let's write that step out. All right, the plus minus 0 just goes away because there's nothing to do. 8 times the square root of 5 over 32. We're going to take that. If you see some reduction here, you're right. 8 and 32 have common 8. So this will reduce to the square root of 5 over 4. But I don't know how many seconds the square root of 5 over 4 is, so I put this into a calculator, and I find that I'm looking at 0.559 seconds. So Kadour reaches his maximum height of 60 inches after 0.559 seconds, or 559 thousandths of a second.